Hi, I'm Kevin, the contractor CFO, and in today's video, Contracting Business Help, we're going to go over specifically KPIs or key performance indicators. But first, a little bit about me, just so you know why you should listen to me in the first place. All right, contractor CFO and COO. Basically, I help you make more money. All right, think of me as like a force multiplier for your business. We start working together, you're going to end up with more money in your pocket. Most of the work, though, I don't want to overcomplicate it. We do small business tax and accounting. Like every business needs the accounting work done, they need their tax returns done. So that is the bulk of our work. But we do a lot on top of that to actually improve, optimize your business so you end up being more profitable or have more time with your family, whatever your goals are. We help figure out all of that and start working to solve all these different problems that every business has. And once one's solved, you move on to the next, and that creates additional problems. So it's kind of this endless process of just making your business better and better and more of what you want it to be. All right, I'm an enrolled agent, so I can represent taxpayers with IRS matters, just like a CPA. It's just I took the enrolled agent exam instead of the CPA exam. Help businesses lower taxes. That's kind of how I got into this business in the first place. And it's because I wanted to do proactive tax planning because I was running around as an insurance premium auditor looking at contractors' payroll reports, looking at their financials, looking at their tax returns, and I just kept seeing over and over again that contractors were paying like 10 grand more in taxes than they needed to. And it's because their CPA or their accountant just never offered that service or provided that. And maybe they're just too busy fulfilling all the actual tax returns and just never had the time to actually sit down and realize, oh, maybe we should do this, maybe we should do this, let's add this in, that kind of thing. So here I am, went from insurance premium auditor, got into tax stuff, and now I'm working as a contractor CFO for clients. All right, contracting business help. How KPIs can save your business. So are you like stuck in a cycle of no jobs, a bunch of jobs, no jobs? I mean, I know this from personal experience when I was doing the insurance audits because I was working with a firm that they had all the contracts for the insurance companies to do the auditing service. And then as auditors, we would just tell the firm, like, hey, I'm ready for like 40 more, 80 more, whatever. And then we would start getting those scheduled and get, actually go out, meet with the insurance, the policy holders or the contractors in this case, and do the audit, submit it. And what would happen to me is that I would spend like a week just getting everything scheduled, and then I'd go out the next week and have, like 20 appointments or whatever, and I'd get all the audits done. But then I'd be so busy doing the audits that I wouldn't schedule the next batch. I wouldn't like make the phone calls, send out the letters, emails, all that kind of stuff. And so I kind of was stuck in the cycle of one week I'd be doing a bunch of scheduling, and the next week would be really full, and then I would not, I'd be like, oh, I don't have time to do the scheduling. So I had to figure out a way of building in the scheduling because I realized that's the core way of me making money as an insurance auditor here was to make sure that I had consistent appointments every single week and enough of them. So I had to figure out how to build in the scheduling and figure out what I needed to do every day to make sure I had enough appointments scheduled on top of all the audit work that I wanted to do. I wanted to do at least 20 appointments a week, but I had to also schedule on top of that. So that's a little bit how I experience it. I know it can be the same for contractors where you go out, you get a bunch of projects, you win a bunch of bids or whatever, and then all of a sudden you're running around doing all these projects and you feel like, oh, I don't have time to go to that networking event that I normally go to, or I don't have time to get these emails sent out. I don't have time to submit this proposal because I'm just trying to deliver the work. And then all the projects start finishing up, and then you realize, oh shoot, like my calendar's wide open. Like that's not a good feeling as a business owner or as an independent contractor. Like you want a really full schedule all the time, almost all the time, right? So this lack of focus and discipline just means a couple of things. The first thing we're going over today is you need KPIs. The second thing is you need to delegate, which we'll go over in future videos. But how KPIs can save your business, that they're key performance indicators, and it's like a dashboard on your truck. All right, so if you're looking at the dashboard on your truck, you have a speedometer, you have a tachometer, engine thermostat, oil pressure, you got voltage. Like you've got all these gauges to help you figure out or just know if your truck is running well. If they're all right where they should be, your truck's running great, there's no issues, but they can predict if you're gonna have an issue, right? Like if you've got like the engine thermostat, like that's one I'm familiar with, is that if that thing keeps climbing and you realize you got a coolant leak somewhere, something's not working right. So you got to pull over, you let it cool down. You got to maybe put some more coolant in the engine or in the radiator, the coolant system, and but then you hop back in and then you realize it's like a couple days later it's doing the same thing. So that indicates like, hey, I probably have a leak somewhere. I need to find this leak. And if I don't find this leak and I keep doing this, maybe one day, like for whatever reason, I have to run it hot for a while. That could warp the head. And then you're talking about having to replace the gasket. Like this leads to this whole slew of other issues that could have been avoided if you just addressed the fact that that thermostat kept getting too high and you needed to find the leak and plug the leak, or maybe replace the radiator, whatever. Or like the voltage meter, like I had experience with this one, where all of a sudden the voltage meter slowly starts going down, and I didn't think anything of it in college in my Ford Ranger, and then on the way home, all of a sudden, the motor cuts out, like everything. I just lost power and everything, and had to coast off to the side of the highway and have my dad pick me up. It was really just the alternator gone out. And so I was just running on whatever voltage was left in the battery, and obviously that runs out after a while. So anyway, the gauges can help predict if something bad is going to happen in the future and if you need to address something. Maybe you've seen that in other businesses where you think everything's fine and they seem like a great business and everything, and then like the next day they close and you're like, well, what happened? Like, like maybe they had to file for bankruptcy. That happens, and that can happen because they weren't looking at their I mean, that can mean that they weren't looking at their key performance indicators. Like if they had been looking at specific metrics or measurements in their business over time, they would have seen that something was starting to happen that was going wrong that they needed to address, or maybe they saw something was going wrong and they just never addressed it and fixed it. Maybe that would have meant they had to make hard decisions or lay some people off or whatever, but they just never took the action they needed to. That they didn't address some short-term pain for long-term benefit. So that's what KPIs are. Like specifically in your business, I can think of just business in general. Like the overall goal of a business is to put more cash in your pocket, or just build a pile of cash you can live off of, right? I'm not, you can have good motives for that, bad motives. I'm not going to go make any judgment or moral calls on that right now, but the whole point of business is to generate revenue that you can use for yourself. And so what leads to a pile of cash? Well, you got to have leads coming in. You have to have leads converting to sales. Then you need to deliver the project. Then you got to get paid for the work you did. Then you got to pay your suppliers, your subs, your employees. Hopefully you have enough money left over. Then you got to figure out how to get ready for the next project and so on. So, what activities produce leads? I mean, that's a huge one for a business. Like that's a huge KPI for a business is what activities produce leads, because you can't make sales unless you have leads coming in, right? So do you go to lunches, or do you have like meetings or networking events? Is that like kind of how you generate a lot of business, or is it from online advertising? Do you just need to have consistent ad spend, and do you need to be testing ads or whatever? Do you find a lot of customers from social media? You need to be making regular posts and engaging with people on social media and running some social media ads or retargeting ads or whatever. Or is it just word of mouth? You need to be asking for referrals all the time. I mean, there's all these different ways of generating leads, but you got to figure out what's working in your business and how can you pay attention to it? Like how many lunch meetings do you need to go to, every week or every month? Or how many like social media posts do you need to be doing? Like there's a whole slew of different things. Like you could build, a KPI just around what am I doing to get leads? And then once you're focused on that, it makes sure that you're consistently doing those things so that you know that you're always going to have more work coming in. All right, or like what converts leads? That could be another KPI of like your conversion rate. Like, are you taking the sales calls, doing the estimating, or do you have somebody else doing that? Like that's just another metric. You can go crazy with KPIs, but the important thing is that you actually focus in on something. So I hope that's helpful. Yeah, gauges predict future issues, so that's the whole point of having a KPI, and it makes you focus on the core activities that you know you need to do to keep the business going. So hopefully that was helpful. I don't have time to get into all the nitty-gritty type of KPIs that contractors might want to look at. It depends on the type of contracting business you have. Some of them you can probably figure out on your own if you just think through of, what's the most important thing or what helps predict when the money's coming in. There's some financial KPIs, but you don't have to worry about the finance. Like if you just focused on leads, that will help your business grow because you'll just have more and more projects coming in that you can deliver on. Anyways, how to get more help? Join my free group for contractors. There's free resources and tools for your business in there. You can chat with other contractors and exchange ideas. There's free courses on tax, accounting, insurance, and legal issues. So if you're ever wondering, like, hey, I feel like I need to know a little bit more about this tax thing or accounting or whatever, you can poke around in those videos, see if there's anything in them that's going to help you better understand certain concepts. Link in the description below and get back to work.